Hello and welcome to Pro Trader Strategies Market Commentary for Friday, December the 15th, 10 days to Christmas. My name's Eric Wilkinson. Some of you may recognize me as Wolfman from CNBC, Fox Business, or even the Wall Street Journal for my commentary on everything from economic to geopolitical and market analysis. Please keep in mind that everything that we talk about in these market commentaries is not a solicitation to buy or sell any of these securities or strategies. At the end of the day, we're here to teach you some different strategies that you can implement into your portfolios, but please do that in your own way. The reason why I can't give you a recommendation on a particular stock or strategy is because I don't know your risk parameters. I don't know what's in your portfolios, and therefore what I'm doing could be counterintuitive to what you are already doing. And please remember that past performance of any trading system or methodology is not necessarily indicative of future results. Having all that out of the way, let's get it on. Not a whole lot of economic data, but here in the United States, we did get Empire Manufacturing, came in at 18, expected to be 18.8, so slightly lower than expected there. We got capacity utilization at 77.1%, in line with expectations. Industrial production month over month came in slightly lower than expected at 0.2%, expected to be 0.3%, but they revised last month's number up from 0.9% to 1.2%. So a nice revision there, making that number overall look pretty decent. On to the overall markets, we've got crude oil moving a little bit higher. Remember yesterday I was talking about everybody and their brother on social media was talking about how crude oil was going to tank, and it came down to this value area, this trend line, I should say, and has repelled up and away from that. So overall market pushing a little bit higher today. Then we have the Bitcoin futures. I'm just showing the Bitcoin just because I know a lot of people are really interested in Bitcoin as of lately, especially with the futures coming out recently. And right now, Bitcoin cash is trading around 17,650. We have the futures trading at 18,020. So 1760, we're trading about $370 over the cash right there. So Bitcoin moving a little bit higher today, as you can see there. This market likes to jump all over the place. It is you got to love to lose money in that market, is what it looks like to me for trading that on a daily basis. That's what we used to say about crude oil, and the moves in Bitcoin are way outside of what we see in volatility for something like crude oil. All right, gold futures unchanged for all intents and purposes. They haven't stayed above that 50 Fibonacci level. So I was talking about this. It looks like it's more of a short covering in a sense, where the shorter term investors got short the overall market and caused this little bit of bounce. But I continue to see bearishness in of the gold futures. I think it's going to go down there and test that 1221 area. Then on to the bonds. Bonds are slightly negative today, not as negative as I'd like to see them, because I have the TLT trade on that I need to take off by the end of the day, basically, because I do have long puts that are in the money, and I don't want to be forced assignment on those if I keep those in my portfolio. I don't necessarily want to be short TLT. And then we've got VIX futures moving off quite a bit today after yesterday's move higher, but that's because we're seeing the overall equities move higher as well, as you can see with the Dow Jones Industrial Average. Another new all-time historical high. It's going to be like a broken record again today, but we got Dow Jones Industrial Average up 155 points. Leading the way to the upside is the NASDAQ, 66 points on the day and creating a new all-time historical high. We are literally right there at those highs right now, a point off, but just made those as we kind of went and started taping this. But the overall tech sector doing well. That's helping out my Apple trade as well, which we'll talk about here in a minute. And the E-mini S&Ps just made a new historical high. Right now, we are on the highs of the day that hadn't made that new all-time high when I started. So all of the markets moving higher and quite dramatically in a sense, with the NASDAQ being up 1% as well. And this is on the daily chart. As you can see, yesterday's sell-off really caused the VIX to kind of spike a little bit. But today's overall market moving higher, never tested those longs in the overnight session, which, the market got overly long in the overnight session. A lot of times we see the day session come in and try and pinch those guys and get them to get out. But we are seeing just a dramatic move to the upside, almost unabated as of right now. Now, on to a few trades that I've done with Adobe. I talked about this yesterday in the daily market commentary, that I was going to do maybe Adobe, or I was leaning towards Costco, but Costco's market maker move, the expected move was around $6, and it's had a tendency to well outpace that $10, $12 on any move for their earnings. So I stayed away from that one, but I went to Adobe because I was pretty bullish on this one, and was able to sell the Adobe 165 and a half puts. So in Adobe, I did the December, which expired today, sold the 167 and a half puts in there. Originally sold those for 73 cents and bought them back for 5 cents this morning, right on the open. That's right in line with my rules with that. Picked the same strike location. I tweeted this out on Twitter that I was selling puts in there. Now it's up to you guys to know. It's as members that on my webinars, I talk about selling that 16 delta, which is what I did. It was, I think, actually a 15 delta, but the closest to that 16 delta strike for the earnings, and that's what I did there. So that one worked out nicely. We had a nice move higher on the open. It opened up higher, since given up a lot of that ground, but you could have even sold the calls in there because it stayed within that market maker move and done very well as well. So been directionally wrong, but still made that money because of that volatility crush we saw. Now in Target, this is a trade that I just added today, and I went in and sold some January 70 calls in there for 35 cents, or sorry, 35 cents, right there at around I think it was around a 14 delta, which is pretty close to my rules for that. Again, liking to sell those 16 delta calls or that 16 delta strike. So I did that in Target, just put an offer in there and waited for it to get hit. Got hit right before I went on here. So added some short deltas using Target. I don't think it's going to get up to that 70 area. There's just more people are liking right now, Walmart for that long move, or the move to the upside. So I think that's going to be more bullish than Target for the most part. Now with Apple, we are up on the day, up about $1, but it's a little slightly lower than where we opened up with this NASDAQ move higher. I'm hoping it's going to pull up Apple as well, because I have on a call Christmas tree in there, and it's in the December, which expires today, and I am long the 170 calls, short the 180 calls, and then long the 185 calls. So it's a 1 by 3 by 2. I was trying to get my hand signals right there because I'm buying the 170 calls. So a 1 by 3 by 2. So I'd like to get that up even further. It's not probably going to get to that 180 call today, but I'm going to let that squeeze out for a little bit longer. It's gotten into positive territory for my P&L on that, so I'm just kind of letting it ride out a little bit longer for that trade right now. So that one I will be taking off. And then finally, or actually I think it's finally, TLT is the other trade that I need to take off today. This is pretty much a loser. I have on a long put spread in there, and I have on the December 128, 123 put spread in there, and I'm going to look to take that one off. It's pretty much a full loser for all intents and purposes right now. So as you can see with TLT trading above that 128 strike, that is going to cause that to be a full loser. I was hoping to see a little bit of pullback in TLT, especially with this market in the equities moving higher. That would intuitively think that TLT would come off, and it has not. So looking at a full loser in that, but I'm going to be taking that off as well sometime today. All right, that's about it for the daily market commentary. But this afternoon, we are going to be doing long puts, and I'm going to show you how to increase your probabilities of success. It is a very low probability strategy. I'm not going to lie. It's not one of my favorites, but everybody needs to know how to do a long put, especially when you are very bearish on an underlying and it has really low implied volatility. So I'll show you how to take advantage of increasing volatility with that put spread. What is the right environment to enter one of these type of strategies if you're bearish in an underlying? And I'll show you how to set that up. Go to protraderstrategies.com and sign up for that. All right. So if you can't take that, take it easy.